Now I'm excited to turn this over to Colin Caulfield, lead iOS engineer at Flipboard, to speak about their experience with EC2 Mac.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's great to be here. I'd like to talk about my experience moving Flipboard's iOS build machine over to an EC2 Mac. So for those who don't know, Flipboard is an award-winning app that curates news and information for all your interests, and it's presented in a magazine-style format. So we have complex layouts with text over images and even a unique flipping animation. So how does this all work behind the scenes? Well, we're already heavily invested in Amazon AWS. We have hundreds of instances doing things such as content ingestion, so grabbing stories from the internet, extracting metadata. We also use machine learning to categorize stories. So for example, is this a story about a US election or football? And then on top of that, there's some nuances. For example, is this about European football or American football? We also do recommendations. So based on what a user is interested in, what stories should we recommend to them? Then we serve these customized feeds to millions of users using our iOS and Android apps throughout the world, and also our web page. We also send breaking news, notifications, and emails. And we maintain a curation ecosystem where users can create their own magazines and share them with others. So that's the back end, but I'm on the front end iOS team, and our needs for servers are not as sophisticated. So what do we do for our iOS build machine? Well, in the past, unfortunately, our build machine was just a 2018 Mac Mini hiding in a closet covered in cables. And clearly this is not on EC2. So despite his small stature, this machine, effectively known as Bender, is responsible for running up to 3 internal betas a day, making sure the builds are not broken, distributing those betas to internal and external testers. We also do our App Store builds and our App Store submissions with all the rigmarole around certificates and provisioning profiles. And we also do UI automation testing, so simulating gestures on the device and making sure the app behaves the way that we think it should. So there's a lot of problems that we had here. One is the builds are extremely slow. So we're looking at 20 plus minutes. It's a mixed Objective-C Swift code base, so that always takes a long time to compile. We also have very sluggish VNC sessions where, the screen redraws slowly, you tap, you're waiting a bunch of seconds, do I need to retap? Machine went down a lot, no monitoring tools. And when it did go down, we had to ask for a person to go in and flip the switch. And of course, when COVID hit, those emails got a lot harder to write, asking someone to drive into the office. So we knew we needed to do something. We tried a few other services and we just weren't really happy with the reliability. And that's when I found out that Amazon was doing Mac on EC2. So we did a trial of this. It took me about 3 days to move everything over. One day was just setting up the instance, getting familiarized. I was new to a lot of AWS, so I had to figure that out for myself, but it was quite easy. So in a day, I got all the software installed, VNC sessions going, accounts created, etc. Then it took me about 2 more days to move all the Jenkins jobs and other tools from our old machine over to the new one. And I found it was really easy to use S3 to do that. So what were the results? Well, the migration was a huge success, and that's probably why I'm here talking to you about it. Build times have gone down to sub 5 minutes, which is great compared to 20 minutes in the past. As you can see on the right-hand side here, I have a picture of Slack, and we get a message every time a beta is created and finished. And as you can see here, it took 5 minutes, and people are just ecstatic about that. This enables a lot of nice work where we could try things that we normally wouldn't do because the expense of making a beta is just so low. Another thing is that our UI automation tests are now sub 1 hour, where they used to be 3 hours. And on this point, I'm really excited about potentially moving to M1 Max in the future, where the automation would run even faster. A few other things I like. The download speeds are super fast. We know Apple makes us re-download Xcode all the time, and now you don't have to take a lunch break when that happens. And also the VNC sessions are really smooth like butter, which is a personal favorite of mine. So a few other things that I really liked here. It was really easy to figure out for someone who was not very familiar. Anytime I had a question, I could just go on YouTube, Stack Overflow, or Amazon's own docs and find an answer very quickly. Now I'm learning about more advanced tools such as AMIs, snapshots, monitoring, etc. And one thing I was worried about, that everything would have to be done through the command line. Not at all. It's really easy to do stuff with screen sharing. And we know on Mac, sometimes there's not a command line option for everything. And lastly, I would say the setup is very reliable. I've only rebooted once, and it was a false alarm. And other than that, everything's just been smooth sailing. So You know, a lot of times these kind of projects, you jump into them, and by the time you get to the end, it didn't work out the way you were hoping. This is an example of a project where everything went right, it was easy, and I'm just super happy with the finished results. So maybe that'll work out for you as well.